Hello everyone, hope you enjoyed our little shopping trip to Walmart. Had to pick up some things, a couple things related to our next project. Now that this whole Hoarders PC collection and unboxing my new laptop 4-part video series is done, we're on to the next video project involving our Northlake boxes. Get into more detail in a little bit, but had to pick up a few things in relation to that, including Sharpie markers, which my family steal and don't put back. That's going to sit in there for now. And I needed some more mailing tape. We'll be using those later, but what I need right now is the box cutter. I'll see you in the garage. Welcome back to my garage. Yeah, this place might look a little familiar to you if you watched my 2-part series on the Ohio bag. And we certainly did discuss the Northlake boxes. Well, finally, we're going to take a deep dive into our Northlake boxes for numerous reasons. The biggest thing, I'm just overdue to do this. Blue wrote it. Haven't seen her in a while, have you? Yeah, I haven't taken this out in a very long time. It needs air. I don't really have a working tire pump right now also, but yeah, it's not an excuse. So it is about mid-July. I have roughly a 2-month period before the start of spooky season, and my wife starts having me take all the Halloween boxes out, fall boxes, and start making a mess here. So now is the good period to start going through the Northlake boxes. This is definitely not something that I'm just going to be doing overnight. This is going to be a process. This is probably going to be most likely a multi-part video again. But I got a little time before spooky season, so we're going to be going through all the Northlake boxes. I suspect this is probably going to be a very boring video for most of you, but hey, maybe there's 2, 3 of you that actually will like this. This is very much a personal vlog video. It's going to be in that playlist. I haven't really done much with these Northlake boxes, which is in this last row here, since we moved to McHenry. I have taken a lot of stuff out of the Northlake boxes, but then since we moved up to McHenry, before and after the Northlake house fire, my dad and my sister have been bringing me random stuff of mine up here, which is a lot of this loose stuff. These bags up here. Yeah, I got a lot of random cassette tapes. I got a bunch of stuff in here. Here's the Game Boy. Yep, the original thing for the Game Boy. I did the whole video on that. So I just kind of want to go through everything. Like I said, I've taken a lot of stuff out since we moved up here to, fill up space in Wayne's Arcade World. You've seen some of the decoration stuff and my Rugrats figures, things like that I pulled out of these boxes, put in the arcade. So I have more room in these boxes, so hoping to get some of this stuff in those boxes. If I can condense things down, maybe I can actually get rid of a box. There's always a possibility I might throw some stuff out. That would make my wife really happy, but let's be honest, what's the chance of that? I need to temporarily stage some of this loose stuff over here, just so we can get at these boxes. So yeah, I really just need to organize this stuff, but there's a few other things that I want to check out. One, And one of the big ones is actually my Super Nintendo. And this is some stuff that I have discussed in previous personal videos and in the live stream. One of these Northlake boxes, I actually have my Super Nintendo from when I was a kid. I have some games. I don't know if I have all the cords, what might be missing, don't know if it works. I have not tested it out since whenever it got packed in that Northlake box, probably when we lived in Hoffman Estates or something. I have no idea. Speaking of gaming systems, yes, here is the Game Boy. That doesn't work for now, but that is kind of in relation to why I want to get the Super Nintendo out here, because I might possibly have my Super Nintendo to Game Boy adapter. It was a Super Nintendo cartridge you just plugged into the Super Nintendo. And then you plugged in your Game Boy into the cartridge, and boom, you can play Game Boy games on your Super Nintendo and your big screen. This is one thing my sister gave me. She got this from Northlake House, old Chicago Bulls blanket. A lot of these bags and stuff are things that I kind of pulled out from the Northlake House after the fire. Got some photo albums, old pictures, stuff like that. A lot of this from a visit that I did not actually vlog, which would now have been the last time I was actually in that house before the property sold. Hopefully, you have seen some of the live streams that I've done now with that Game Boy Advance SP that my friend gave me a couple of years back. And, you know, I managed to have a decent live stream with them. You know, I've done 2 or 3 live streams with the Game Boy now, but it's still kind of awkward, you know, framing it in the phone and being actually able to see the game myself. And I'm just really curious if that Super Nintendo works. If we could just, through basic composite cable, RCA cables, hook it up to, you know, maybe that old CRT in Wayne's Arcade World, and see what games we have on there, and possibly be able to play my Game Boy games on that CRT TV in Wayne's Arcade World. It's possible. I mean, maybe the adapter's not even there. I don't know. I just haven't really looked too close at it in a long time. This tote has a bunch of miscellaneous stuff as well. Alright, we're at just the box now. One of the other things that I want to do is I have 1 or 2 boxes here that are all old computer software. CDs, floppy disks, you know, the big box games that you would buy at Best Buy back in the 90s. I have a lot of that. Not too surprisingly. Again, watch my hoarder old retro PC videos. I don't throw anything out. I have a lot of stuff, and I'm kind of curious what is in here. I have not closely looked through that stuff at all since it got put in a Northlake box. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious what's in there. Nothing of it will be too useful to me probably today. You know, my laptop doesn't even have a CD-ROM or DVD or anything attached to it. You know, floppy disk not being good for me, but yeah, just kind of from the nostalgia point of view, I'd like to kind of just see what I still have. I'm pretty sure I still have some computer manuals in here, and possibly some old stuff going back to Windows 3.1. You know, with some of those floppy disks, I might have used them on that old IBM portable personal computer. You can go ahead and, you know, watch those hoarder PC videos again if you want. And there are some very heavy boxes in here as well. And mainly I just want to share this process with you. We did this a little bit during the two-part Ohio bag videos, but I want to kind of just in more detail go through each box with you, and if I find something interesting that I want to share, show it to you, and kind of go through some of that old computer software stuff that I have. I know there's definitely a few of you from my squad that would be interested in that sort of geeky stuff. And while we're looking through everything, hopefully we can organize stuff and maybe condense some stuff. Get some of this loose stuff into these boxes. The goal is to get rid of some boxes. Will I have to add a box? I don't know. But we're going to try to get things condensed into the existing boxes. That would be the goal. Like I said, a lot of this stuff, I can even see some categories, things I've written down here that I know I've taken out and brought into the game room. Yeah, and just there's a lot of random stuff. Like here, look at this, Nintendo Power Magazine. That might be something that may be useful. I'm pretty sure I had a map at one point of the Zelda game, the original Zelda game, which I've been wanting to do on a live stream. And I'm pretty sure I had that map from Nintendo Power Magazine. Maybe that's sitting in one of these magazines. That would be perfect. I'm sure I could just print one out, but it might be in one of those magazines. And you know, that's a cool thing to share right there, the Nintendo Power Magazines. This box right over here, Twin Galaxy cards. I discussed it, I think, the last Midwest Gaming Classic, how Walter Day gave me, you know, these Twin Galaxy trading cards as a gift during a Star Wars arcade party back from like 2011. And yeah, I'd like to show you guys that. That was kind of cool. There's definitely a lot of junk in here. That should be thrown out. Hopefully I can. And unfortunately, this is not the only set of boxes that I have to go through. Probably won't be in this set of videos, but yeah, these are the Northlake boxes. This set of boxes here is what I kind of call the post-Northlake boxes. Things that I've kind of collected and throughout our many different moves from Hoffman Estates to Lake Zurich, to Lake Zurich again, to McHenry, that we want to put back in the house. There's a lot of junk in here too. Would like to go through that as well, see what I can get out of here, but that's about 8 boxes. And yeah, right here I see computer, books, and discs. So this is one that's going to have a lot of that computer stuff in there. And right here, this box says Super Nintendo. And the last one. I know this one's going to be heavy too. There we go. Just leave this over here for now. Alright, there we go. Our total count: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. 11 Northlake boxes, all this miscellaneous stuff, this tote, and miscellaneous stuff. this is what we had to go through. Considering everything that happened to my Northlake house, I feel pretty lucky to have all this. My wife never really totally understood why I had all this stuff from Northlake. And yeah, it's always been one of those things like, yeah, I kind of should probably get rid of some of this stuff, but it definitely has a little bit more importance to me now. And obviously now that the house is sold, there shouldn't be a lot more to add to this collection of round stuff. My sister and brother-in-law do have a storage unit, and there very well maybe some of my stuff in there also. So this may not be the end. I have a pretty good representation of my childhood here, teenage years for sure. But this is all we're going to do for tonight. So while we were in Walmart, it rained, and I was only in Walmart for 15 minutes or so. Came out, the cars had rain on them, pavement was dry, but the cars were wet, and it got super crazy humid. It's like ridiculously humid. Even St. Louis wasn't this humid at night. It's kind of miserable, so we're gonna back inside now, and whatever day we get back to this, we'll get back to this. Start going through these boxes. Thank you guys for joining me on this journey. Hope you enjoy it. It's gonna be a lot of nostalgia, I can say that for sure. Welcome to day number 2. And I'll keep track of the days for you. I'll keep track of the outfit changes. Tonight will be kind of a quick night. We're mainly going to be focused on one of the most important things I wanted to check up on in these Northlake boxes, and that is the Super Nintendo, which is right in this box here. Do I have the complete system? What cords do I have? What games do I have? Do I have that Game Boy adapter? Most important of all. Well, let's dig into this. This box is pretty light. I don't think there is a lot in here. So hopefully we can condense this with something else eventually. Yeah, there she is. All right. First impression is a pretty good impression. Let's get this out of the way right now. A VHS cassette rewinder. Yeah. Remember these guys? Don't see a date on this. I can tell by the label it's definitely old though. This was my parents' main VHS rewinder. Not really sure why my parents felt the need to give it to me. I mean, they knew I had some VHS tapes in these boxes here. But we have our Super Nintendo. Now again, this was retrieved from Northlake well before the fire. Whether this works, I don't know. But it definitely wasn't affected by a fire. It definitely could use some cleaning. Yeah, Super NES control deck, model number SNS001. I don't know if that means anything. But I see a couple promising things here. We have 2 of these red containers. These have the games. Again, this is the only system of mine that made it to McHenry. The original Nintendo, I'm not sure what happened. That was in version 2.0 of Wayne's Arcade World in the basement the last time I saw it. And wow, we got some games. The Nintendo 64 was always at my parents' house, and I know, pretty sure that got ruined by the fire. Don't know whatever happened to Nintendo though. Boy, do we got some games here. Let's check this out. These containers have always held my games since the beginning. NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Stunt Race Ethics. Championship Pool. Super WrestleMania. I think this may have actually been my friend's game. Clue. Tecmo Super Baseball. Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures. NBA Showdown by EA Sports. Pitfall, The Mayan Adventures. Super Mario All-Stars. Apparently another NBA Jam Tournament edition. Roadrunner's Death Valley Rally. Super Mario World. And of course, Super Mario Kart. The instruction booklet for Magical Tetris Challenge for N64. How to cheat at Super Mario World. Check out that date. Here's a whole paragraph, how to fly forever. Oh, there is definitely a lot that I forgot about in here. And this is only one red container. This one seems a little lighter. I'm not 100% sure what's in here, but there's definitely something I hope is in here. Oh yeah. There it is, my friends. The Super Game Boy adapter for the Super Nintendo. The Game Boy games, just the original, not any color advanced or whatever. Original Game Boy game goes in here. This plugs into this. And there you go. Your Game Boy game is now on the big screen TV. If I remember right, there was a whole bunch of wasted space on the sides, and the screen was just kind of a little thing in the middle, didn't really scale that much. Wasn't perfect, but hey, when you have a burnt up Game Boy, this could be very handy. Now again, do I have all the cords? I don't know. Obviously I can buy cords. Biggest thing obviously, does this thing still work? This hasn't been powered on since somewhere in the mid-2000s. Before I moved out of Northlake. I can't really remember when I stopped using this. Even back in the early 2000s, I was in college at that point and a very busy person. And working and not playing video games as much as I once did. But yeah, this probably hasn't seen any use since the mid-2000s. But I am just so happy that I still have this. Arcade's Greatest Hits by Williams. And what is that I see? Oh, we'll get a little light here. We have Joust. Battleship. Arcano. Tetris and Dr. Mario. Oh, classic. Beavis and Butthead. Pinball Dreams. I don't even remember this. Okay, we got the original NBA Jam. And NBA Hang Time. Can you tell that I was really into basketball back in the day? Now, setting up the Super Nintendo will be a whole other video. We have a controller. I'm not even going to be taking this into Wayne's Arcade World until after we're done with this whole project and whatever set of videos this is going to be. I have no clue. This is a pretty big rabbit hole we're jumping into here. We have another Super Nintendo controller. But so far, this biggest part of this rabbit hole has been a success. But again, that is still determined by how well the Super Nintendo actually works. Alright, well, some more good things. I have an official Nintendo license adapter. It says Nintendo on it. I actually have two adapters. I'm not sure what that's about. This is just a generic Han Kwong adapter. Maybe I had to get a replacement adapter at some point. I don't know. But this one, in theory, should power up the Super Nintendo. Can we get a light on this thing? Let me see here. I don't have a plug right here. Give me one moment. Alright, we're plugged into a wall. Do we get a light? Oh, nice. I mean, still doesn't mean that something else isn't wrong, but we get a light. You know, I think that we have all the pieces to hook this up in Wayne's Arcade World. This is the last one. This cord here plugs into the back of the Super Nintendo, and this is a Nintendo RF switch. Used to have these with the old systems and like the Atari and stuff like that. This is not one of the old ones we used with the Atari where you had to switch between channel 3 and channel 4. I had a whole thing where I had like 3 of those systems hooked up and 2 were on channel 3, 1 was on channel 4. Crazy nerd thing I was doing back then, my parents' little tiny antenna TV, the rabbit ears, but this has coax. And that little TV in Wayne's Arcade World, I'm playing most of the games with the RCA, the ketchup, mustard, mayo connectors on a VCR, but there's a coax just sitting in the back of the thing, not being used. The little TV does not have any RCA, just the coax. So in theory, I could just plug this into the back of the TV, put it on channel 3. This should work, but a teaser, I guess, if you want to call it that, because that will be on a separate video. If it does work, you're going to see it on a lot of live streams, because there's some games that I want to play on this thing. The only other thing that I have in here is this Bulls album. Now, this thing is chock full of Bulls nostalgia from the Jordan years, mainly 96 through 98. And there's so much to go through here. Old newspaper headlines, old pictures of me at Bulls games. There's even a picture in here, I think, of my dad meeting Bill Wennington. There's so much content in here, I think this might have to be saved for a separate video. This is pretty wild. This is very valuable. I'm glad I did get this. It did not get burned in the Northlake fire. There's a lot to go through, so that right there is one thing that we're going to have to save for another video, but it'll be worth it, trust me. Now, this box has a lot of stuff in there, but there's one particular thing that sort of catches my interest. I hope it's still in here. Whew, kind of a smell coming out of this one. Now we're getting in kind of the random junk while I still have this stuff. Yeah, this is very much a junk box. A lot of my wife's stuff is in here too, including candles and kitchen stuff. Here we got a Wonder Pets plate. That's from my oldest daughter. But I am not finding what I was hoping was going to be in here. And it very well may possibly be in another box, and that is my sister's Nintendo DS. Yeah, there's a little case I had for that Nintendo DS as well, with some games. Don't remember what games. A lot of them were mainly focused on my sister, because, you know, I never actually owned it. It was hers, and she just gave it to me. Otherwise, there is just a bunch of junk in here. But there's definitely some good nostalgia in here, though. My honeymoon hat from our honeymoon trip to Disney World. And my wife's hat as well. Yep, she had bride Mickey ears. How do I look? So, a couple valuable things in here, a lot of junk, but that's about all I'm going to show you. And there's probably not going to be a lot. I can condense. This box is pretty full. This box is also filled with a bunch of junk, but there is some interesting stuff here, including this RFU adapter, which connects the Nintendo 64 or Super NES video game system to your television. Now, we do have that original connector, but this may come in handy. It's never been opened. I'll put this with the Super Nintendo stuff. And this is very interesting as well. I'm not going to go into detail until we start doing more of the computer related stuff in these boxes, but this is all the original stuff from my first laptop, the Compaq Rosario 1675 with Windows 98. There's a Windows 98 book. The packaging for when I attempted to upgrade the RAM on that thing, that went totally horrible. I kept on blue screening, and then I ended up clicking on some random file in the system directory that it mentioned in the error message in the blue screen, and then it came back, and I think I had to remove it. I don't know. This is my first ever attempt to upgrade RAM, and it went very, very badly, but again, it was Windows 98, and Windows 98 sucked in my opinion. Someone left me a comment that Windows 98 being better than Windows Me. I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with Me, but I don't also have a lot of favorable opinions of Windows 98 either. Old postcards. That's definitely a theme that you're going to find in these boxes. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but I picked up postcards. This is West Virginia on all my trips back in the day. Don't do that anymore. But, you know, when I was younger, every rest stop, every service plaza, every town I went to, if I can get a postcard, I got a few. I got a whole stack here. I used to mail them to my grandma all the time. She kept them and eventually gave me the ones that I had sent her. So I got all these addressed postcards as well with my writing on. One thing you're also going to find a lot of is maps. Don't think there's a ton else for me to show you here. The license plate themed Wisconsin license plate themed photo album 07. It's never been opened, but Wisconsin, I had to get it. A lot of stuff in here from my high school graduation. I also have a lot of awards and stuff that I got from like the National Honor Society. Ooh, we found an old Illinois stuffy. That's pretty cute. I think we'll bring this into Wayne's Arcade World. I've gone through and pulled out a lot of stuffies already, but I missed that one. DOS for Dummies. I'm going to pull this computer stuff aside and probably put it with some of the other computer things. I know those boxes have a lot more computer stuff in them. One thing that I think might be worth checking out to see if it still works, mainly because of my buddy and one of my bigger supporters of the channel, Todd Herbert. He goes through these old radios. He might be interested in checking this out. Don't know if this works. It does have batteries. Looks like it takes a 9-volt. Might mess around with that later. This is one of the many boxes that say heavy on it. This one I don't think there will be much for you to show either, and yeah, as I suspected, it's really full. This is a very interesting box. It has a bunch of my old bowling and karate trophies in there. A lot of them. Don't really care so much to bring all that out for you. It's just all the various tournaments that I had in both sports. And then these bags have some clothes. I think some of my kids' baby clothes might be in here. And I did mention this in the Northlake house fire video. I think the second one where I came back that I had my old Bulls jerseys. Well, here is the proof that I do indeed have my old Bulls jerseys. Most of them except for that Robin one which you found in Northlake. B.J. Armstrong. Luke Longley. Again, this is from the Jordan era, obviously. Don't think I would fit in any of these today. Tony Kukoc. Did I tell you I was into basketball? And I was like the biggest Bulls fan back in Northlake. I even put that in one of my yearbooks. Pippin? Yeah, it was one of those things where you had to put something positive about each individual in the yearbook, and I think this was middle school, and that was the only thing they could think for me to put down there was #1 Bulls fan. So yeah, that's kind of pathetic, huh? No, that's my childhood for you. Jordan, a lot of Jordans. Somewhere I had a gold Jordan jersey. 25 is, oh yeah, Steve Kerr. One of my faves. .45, so we got Jordan 45. I got about every combination of Jordan jersey that I could get. I think we usually pick this up in the mall. 54. Oh yeah, Horace Grant. These are all in really good shape. These were in that closet in the downstairs bedroom in Northlake most of the years. Paxson, #5. Oh, I don't remember if I mentioned this in any of my previous videos or my personal videos. Maybe I did, but when I did the Ohio bag, but I was really into Ohio. Watch those Ohio bag videos. You will see why. So one of the trips to Ohio or on the way to West Virginia, I picked up a Mark Price jersey, number 25. And I didn't wear it around town. Yeah, I know that's kind of sacrilege, but I wore it all around. I was pretty proud to have this. Yeah, certainly there was no one else that was walking around Northlake with that thing. And I think we're going to finish off tonight with this also very heavy box here. There's not a lot I can show you. All 4 of these boxes are now pretty much ready to be taped back up and put back in their aisle. So unfortunately right now we're not doing a great job of getting rid of boxes. But kind of going to happen. I am going to toss this Super Nintendo box though, I think. Once I get all the Super Nintendo stuff out here, I'll find a spot for that Bulls album and at least say I got rid of that one, I guess. We'll see. But there's a couple interesting things to show you though. My grandma gave me a bunch of VHS tapes. These could be really valuable these days, I don't know. At least here the old Disney VHS tapes are valuable. Lady and the Tramp, Benji, 101 Dalmatians. A lot of these were my grandma's. Can you tell she was into the dog movies? 102 Dalmatians. You can see my grandma actually in a couple of videos. The old Kittyland Train video that I did back in 2009, and then she was in that video of my dog Dixie playing with that balloon back at the Northlake house from like 2005. You can hear her very well in that video. Milo and Otis. This was probably my grandma's favorite movie ever. Again, dogs and cats. Wizard of Oz. Very much my grandma also. And Snow White. Never have brought these down into the arcade. Just the VHS tapes take up so much room, but I'm holding on to it for now. I got a bunch of babies' clothes in here, you know, for my kids. And then we have the failed Wayne's Arcade World decorations from version 1.0 and version 2.0 of Wayne's Arcade World that just didn't really fit into the game room and or didn't work. I have this lamp. I made this in junior high / middle school. We call it 2 different things. One year it was junior high, 1 year it was middle school. With the Sprite can, my favorite drink at the time. And this always had a cool decorative light on here in Wayne's Arcade World. But I just haven't put it in McHenry because, you know, the can has seen better days. And then The rest of these decorations I know unfortunately do not work anymore. I have a yellow sort of construction light, which I do have a new one my sister bought. It's by that big CRTV, and I just keep forgetting to plug it in, but I actually have a working one of that now. And then this guy, I would say this doesn't work anymore. So there's a little kind of plastic piece with a bunch of like different colored shapes and stuff, and the light shines and it makes a bunch of cool effects. And this thing just kind of spins around as the old school bulb gets hot. But I don't think this works anymore, and the little decorative piece doesn't want to stay on there anymore anyway, so I have it for whatever reason, but those are the decorations that never made it to Wayne's Arcade World. Is this what I think it is? Oh yeah, I don't know again why this is in here. This is more computer software related stuff. My spare zip disk, 100 megabyte zip disk. I believe this was actually the first thing ever I bought on Amazon. I believe it's a 4-pack, because yeah, I can look back at the account history, and the first purchase I bought with an Amazon gift card actually was like a 4-pack of zip disks in the early to mid 2000s. That's really about it for this box.
And I almost forgot what actually made this box heavy was all these CDRs in here. Yeah, back in the day before I was regularly using external hard drives, I was attempting to back up all my photos and videos on these. Obviously we eventually gave up on that, but I still have all the CDs.
Day 2 is complete, and the first row of Northlake boxes are back in their spots. Still have all these boxes to go through. A lot of the miscellaneous loose ends that I've collected since the Northlake house fire, and all the new stuff I picked out of the boxes without actually having eliminated a box yet.